It's another beautiful day for baseball in Los Angeles.
And baseball podcast.
Josh Schaefer and Blake Harris
Cover everything Dodgers right here on Inside the Ravine.
How is it going, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of Inside the Ravine. Joining me, as always, this time from beautiful Pasadena, my co-host, Josh Schaefer. Josh, we took a little 2-week break to recover from what we had to witness in the NLDS. But the good news is, Josh, I guess the Dodgers weren't as trash as we originally thought. They were still garbage, but it turns out the team they played actually might have been kind of good. So there's at least that going for us right now, buddy.
Yeah, well, now the Arizona Diamondbacks are headed to the World Series, which I still think is insane. But they're hot, man. And we said that in the series against the Dodgers, that they had the clutch hits. You know, they were better than the Dodgers in the NLDS. And then it came around. They lost the first 2 games to the Phillies in the NLCS. And you were kind of thinking, like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think the Dodgers could have done much better based off of what we saw in the NLDS. But the D-backs, like, sure, they're going home, you know, not really sure what to expect. And then go home, tie the series up, you know, had the walk-off win, had another big win, and then going back to Philly down 3-2. To win 2 games on the road like that was really impressive. So the D-backs, man, they won, 84 games in the regular season or something like that. And you texted me last night, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, I agree every single postseason, but then the regular season starts and we're back to square one. But I mean, the regular season literally means nothing at this point, like, especially for the Dodgers, because every year the Dodgers just seem to win the division by 10 games or more, and then they just drop the ball in the postseason. So honestly, just at this point, get in, because that's what the D-backs did. Like, the D-backs are not the D-backs weren't the best team in the National League. They weren't the team built best to make a World Series run, but here they are because they got hot in the postseason and they're getting it done. So D-backs and Rangers. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, Blake. I feel like that's for maybe Dodgers fans out there, even though it's a division rival, I think that maybe that's a little easier to swallow than like Astros Phillies or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the D-backs were the better team. The Rangers have never won a World Series, so there's some rooting interest there. But like you said, Josh, an 84-win team going to the World Series. I think I saw this tweet that the D-backs and the Rangers, their combined win total is the lowest combined win total either ever in a World Series, or it's like been an insanely long time since there was a number this low. The D-backs were the 6th seed. I believe the Rangers were the 5th seed. And Josh, ever since this new playoff format started, that's back-to-back seasons in which the National League pennant has been a 6th seeded team. So I'm with you, man. The regular season, maybe don't care as much anymore. If I'm the Dodgers, don't sign Shohei Ohtani, because he's going to get you 105 wins, which you cannot have, Josh. We need the Dodgers to win 86 games next year, get that second or third wild card, and then go on their Cinderella run to the World Series. Because apparently, unless you're the Houston Astros, bad teams, they make it to the World Series the way this playoff format is. So it's crazy. It just goes to show that baseball, truly anything can happen. It's the biggest crapshoot out there. But yeah, D-backs, Rangers World Series. Josh, if you would have made a bet prior to the postseason starting, they have like those exact outcomes that you can bet on based on the playoff teams. If you would have bet on either the D-backs to beat the Rangers in the World Series or the Rangers to beat the D-backs in the World Series, you would have gotten 450 to 1 odds.
Wow.
So if you would have put a nice $100 bet down on that, you'd be a $45,000 winning man. That just goes to show how unexpected this matchup truly is. So that's baseball for you, Josh. But before we get to all that kind of stuff, I'm just going to give you the floor. What's your quick World Series prediction for that series?
Well, you know, first of all, I wonder if those odds would be that crazy if the Rangers didn't lose the division on the last day of the season, because that's another thing. Like, they were the 5th seed, but you know, I mean, they lost the division on the last day of the season. So I wonder if those odds would be different, and I wonder if people might have, you know, a different outlook on this World Series if the Rangers hadn't done that. But either way, it's it's tough to say just because it's tough to go against the D-backs just because of how good they've been. But I feel like I have to go with my gut, which is the Rangers. And I think I'm going to take the Rangers in 6. I don't, just based off what I've seen from these two teams this season and this postseason, I think the Rangers are the better team on paper. I think they're the much better team on paper. But again, the D-backs are hot and they've won against the odds, especially this last series, having to go home down by 2 in the series and then go back to Philly and win 2 games on the road to go to the World Series. So I think you got to give the D-backs some credit. I think that it's not going to be a quick series, but I think I'm going to take the Rangers in 6.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers are the better team. Like you said, if they just win, I think the last day of the regular season, they win the division and they're probably, I think, the number 2 seed. So, yeah, the Rangers, they got the home field advantage, but this D-backs team, they went through the Brewers with ease, they went through the Dodgers with ease, and then, yeah, down 2-0 in the NLCS, they somehow come back. Then they're down 3-2 going back to Philly for 2. They somehow come back. So this D-backs team, they just won't quit. They're doing everything right. They're hot. But I'll go with the Rangers. I'll go with the Rangers in 6. But Josh, I wouldn't, at this point, nothing will surprise me. Whoever wins won't surprise me. If a team wins in 4, if a team wins in 7, nothing will surprise me. So it'll be a fun World Series, hopefully for the Rangers. Again, I'm pulling for them because they've never won one. So hopefully for their fans, they get to experience it for the first time. That'll be awesome. But transitioning, Josh, we're going to talk some Dodgers today. This is going to be a fun one because we're just going to be talking about the 40-man roster as a whole. We're not going to be going in depth on every man that's on the 40-man, but the Dodgers have a lot of decisions to make this offseason because they're going to have to crunch this roster down. Josh, would you like to take a guess as to when the season ended, how many players the Dodgers had on their 40-man roster? Now, again, if you're on the 60-day IL, you don't count towards the 40-man, so they had a number of guys, but take a guess at how many players were on the 40-man when the season ended.
40 plus the IL?
40 plus, so more than 40.
God. 52.
You just missed it, Josh. You just missed it. 51. The Dodgers had 51 players on their 40-man, so they're going to have to trim that down to 40. And honestly, they're going to have to trim it below 40, Josh, because during the offseason, you can't have guys on the 60-day IL. So guys like Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May that are probably going to miss a good portion of 2024, they got to come off it. So you got to clear space and you got to get under 40 because if you want to sign free agents, if you want to make trades, you got to be below that 40-man so you can add guys. So the Dodgers got a lot of decisions they're going to have to make this offseason. So we're going to go kind of section by section. We're going to talk about the players that are going to be free agents, whether or not we think the Dodgers should bring them back. We're going to talk about the players that have team options, whether or not the Dodgers should bring them back, and then kind of just look at that as a whole. So Josh, overall, I know you were looking at this before the show. I guess whatever article you were looking at included minor league free agents. Unfortunately, we're not going to be talking about Matt Andriese. We're not going to be talking about Robbie Erlin and whether or not the Dodgers need to bring them back to an OKC deal. But there are, according to this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think 13 overall free agents. So we're just going to quickly go down the list, talk about whether or not we want the Dodgers to bring them back. The first one, Josh, Ryan Brazier. So this could be an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting one because he was so good for the team. I would love to see them bring him back, but to me, he kind of just seems like a player that they probably wouldn't. I don't know. He was not. He's kind of a value kind of guy for the Dodgers. We said this all year, and that's one thing that I think we're going to see on this trend is it's not going to be a ton of these huge, big name, high rolling free agents on this list. I think there's going to be a lot of value guys. And as much as fans might like them, you need to realize that they're not all going to be back, and nor do the Dodgers probably need to bring them back. So he's one that I would like to see brought back, but I would not be surprised if he was not on the list.
Yeah, I would love for Ryan Brazier to come back because ever since he made his Dodgers debut, he was their best reliever. I mean, his numbers were just insane this year. The dude was a lockdown reliever. I mean, he was fantastic. The only issue is I think he may have pitched himself into a nice payday. I
Yeah.
wanted to look up last year, Josh, because this was kind of the same trend as 2022. The Dodgers traded for reliever Chris Martin. He was fantastic with the Dodgers. And then this past offseason, he signed a 2-year, $13.5 million contract with the Red Sox. He was essentially earning $7 million a year with all of his bonuses and everything. So I don't know if that's the kind of contract Ryan Brazier might be getting, but I kind of wanted to use that as a comparison. So yeah, if another team's offering Brazier 6 to 7 million, the Dodgers probably pass on that because paying a lot of money for relievers isn't really the smartest option. So who knows? Maybe the Dodgers are able to get him at like 3 or 4 million. But yeah, I think another team might be knocking at his door because he was fantastic. But that's going to be a fun one to pay attention to because again, you need guys in your bullpen that you can rely on. And Ryan Brazier, he was one of the few that you really could trust in high leverage situations. All right, Josh, the next one on the list, another fun one, Kike Hernandez.
Kike's one that I think that Dodger fans are going to be upset to see leave, but I feel like he's probably on that list of guys. It's probably not going to be re-signed. He was making 10 million. He's 32 now, which obviously isn't a big deal at all. He's a fan favorite, but given that they let him walk the first time, I just don't think that he's a guy that is probably going to be in the Dodgers' future plans. I would love for him to be involved, but again, I also think that my answer for this kind of depends on what they want to do in the offseason in terms of free agents elsewhere. And if there's anybody else on this list that might impact whether or not he gets an extension.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because the Dodgers let him go the first time. He wanted to be a starter with the Red Sox, which he was, but that tenure kind of ended poorly. Like, he definitely wasn't a starter anymore. I would love for the Dodgers to bring him back as kind of like a Chris Taylor utility man, which we saw, Kike thrive in once again with the Dodgers, where you could put him in the outfield, you could put him at second base, you could put him at shortstop, you could put him on the mound, you could put him wherever. I don't think he's going to be getting 10 million a year like he was getting on his previous contract. So if he's willing to take, a team friendly deal, I'm sure he'd love to return to LA. Clearly, he liked being back. And I think it'd be a great move for the Dodgers to really strengthen their bench because I don't know how their bench is looking for next year, but if you can bring him back, get the production you got again, I think that'd be a win for the Dodgers. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to how much is he willing to settle for. Obviously, he got his payday already with the Red Sox. Does he want to try to get more money? Or again, is he willing to take a team-friendly deal, come back to LA, not be a starter, and again, be like a Chris Taylor kind of guy where maybe you start 60% of the games during the season, you're moved around a lot because I think the Dodgers could desperately need him. Next one, Josh, a guy that exceeded both of our expectations. We weren't expecting anything from him this year. Jason Hayward, who turned out to be one of the Dodgers' best hitters in 2023.
Oh yeah, he was terrific. 15 home runs, OPS at like 813. He was really good. And you know what? He was on a really cheap, it was a team-friendly deal for a guy who was 33, 34 years old. 720,000. I mean,
Such
that
a
was
deal.
that turned out to be an incredible deal for the Dodgers. He's one more that I think it kind of depends on if he wants to take a team-friendly deal. But I also think he's 34. Is he going to want more money? And is this the right fit for him and for the team? Unfortunately, I don't think Hayward comes back. I think that wherever he ends up, he's probably going to want a little bit more money based off of how good he was this year. But I don't think he lands with the Dodgers.
Jason Hayward's an interesting one because, like you said, Josh, he was such a bargain last year. I think the Cubs were still paying him like 17 million or something like that. So it's not like he wasn't getting the bag; like he was still getting paid heavily. I mean, according to this, he was, I think, getting 22 million with the Cubs. I mean, he's coming off an 8-year, $184 million contract. So clearly, he's set up for life in regards to money. I don't know how much a team would be willing to give him just because of his age. And although he had a great season, like I don't think he's getting a multi-year deal for like 10 plus million a year. So maybe because of that, he opts to return to the Dodgers on a cheaper deal. Maybe like what the Dodgers gave David Peralta this past year. I think they gave him like a 1-year, $6 million contract. I think that'd be fair. I think for Jason Hayward, he would like to return. He clearly loved playing here. He's best friends with Freddie Freeman, so maybe he wants to, stay with Freddie Freeman, be that veteran presence in the locker room. So I'm okay with the Dodgers bringing him back, especially, again, as a bench piece. I know he got a lot of more starts than we were expecting, but based on the production, like you said, Josh, I think you said like 15 home runs, OPS above 800. You'll take that, for
Oh,
6
yeah.
or 7 million. So I hope they bring him back around a deal like that because, again, they could use another outfielder with some uncertainties there. So I hope they bring Hayward back. And this is kind of tough, Josh. We're through 3 players already, and I kind of want all 3 of them back, which
Yeah.
might be kind of tough to happen because, like I said, they're going to have to crunch this 40-man, and things get only more difficult next, Josh, because the next guy on our list is Clayton Kershaw. And this one seems kind of easy because it pretty much seems like if he wants to return, he'll be back with the Dodgers or he'll retire. So I think I know where we both stand on this, but what are your quick thoughts on Kershaw?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it depends if he wants to play another year.
Yeah.
Because you're right. If he wants to play another year, he's going to be the Dodgers' number one. Every year, it's kind of like, oh, he's getting older, but he's going to play another year, and then he's still the team's best pitcher. So, yeah, and he's making a lot of money. But, he's going to be 36 by the time the season starts. We're right around when the season's starting. Obviously, that's not a huge deal. You already have guys on the team like Lance Lynn, Daniel Hudson, David Peralta. All those guys are 36 already. But, if Kershaw wants to be back, he's back. And I think that's kind of just how it's going to work out.
Yeah. I mean, I think Andrew Friedman even last week at his presser said if Kershaw wants to be back, we're bringing him back. So we don't know how long that decision's going to take. I want Kershaw to come back. I want him to get 3,000 strikeouts. I also selfishly just want one more year of him. So again, that one, it's in his court. We'll have to wait and see. The next one, Josh, should be fairly easy and quick. You might not even remember that this guy was on the Dodgers during the season because he played for a couple of games, got hurt, was put on the 60-day IL. Outfielder Jake Marisnick.
Oh, how could I forget? Former Astro Jake Marisnick getting signed like mid-season. Yeah, this one, I feel like this one's an easy one. I mean, he wasn't making very much money. He's going to be 33 by the time the season starts. I don't see a world where Jake Marisnick's back with the Dodgers this next year. He missed some time, obviously, with an injury. But, yeah, for me, this is an easy one. I feel like this is one where it's just not gonna it's not in the cards for him because I feel like the Dodgers are likely going to try to have better options on the bench. They're likely going to have better options in the starting lineup. And again, we've already passed on a couple of guys who I think would be legitimate better options that still might be more value deals than Jake Marisnick.
Yeah, maybe this is one where they sign him to a minor league deal, invite him to spring training, send him to AAA, and then in May, when there's the inevitable injury, you call him up. Josh, he did hit 400 during his brief tenure with the Dodgers. Does that change your outlook at all?
Not really.
He did go 2 for 5. So a very, very small sample size. So again, that one, if he's not back, that's fine. But sign him to a minor league deal, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Boy, man, we're really getting difficult here, Josh. JD Martinez. We talked about Jason Hayward being the biggest bargain, but JD Martinez, he might have been arguably the best bargain in all of baseball this past season.
This guy signed a 1-year, $10 million deal and hit 33 home runs with 103 RBIs and an OPS at 893.
And he missed 40 games, I think, too.
Yeah,
he missed at least a month.
He's easily the biggest bargain deal on this team and one of the best value deals in baseball this past year. The tough part is I always saw this as a 1-year deal and one opportunity to win something and utilize JD Martinez's talents. I still think that that's probably the case. I think that JD Martinez, despite being 36 now, is probably going to have the opportunity to get more money if he were to leave. I still think he's got a year or two left in him. I just don't know if it's with the Dodgers because I feel like the Dodgers kind of had this plan to have a 1-year deal in place and go get somebody else. And we talked about this a lot, and I don't want to continue to hype up the Shohei train yet, but going into this season, I feel like the mood amongst a lot of fans, you and I kind of had this thought, was the Dodgers are going to kind of bridge the gap to next year, right? And JD Martinez was the perfect player to kind of do that with because he's a legitimate designated hitter that is going to hit home runs, is going to bring in RBIs, is going to hit doubles and shoot balls into the gaps. And you knew that he could be in your lineup every night. But for 1 year, $10 million, that's a perfect contract to bridge the gap to the next year where you can maybe go out and get somebody else. I feel like he's not back. I would love for JD Martinez to come back. But here's another thing. If the Dodgers make a legitimate push for Shohei Ohtani, you can't have both. You just can't.
Yeah.
Not only can you not afford them both, because JD probably will want some more money, but also, like, you're just not going to put him in the outfield. Like, that's the thing. You're not going to have two guys on your roster that are almost exclusively going to DH. And it's just not going to work. So if the Dodgers don't get Shohei Ohtani, by all means, would love to have JD Martinez back. But if the team is going to make a legit push for Shohei, then JD Martinez is not going to be a Dodger.
Yeah, JD Martinez missed 50 games this year
Oh
while
my
never
gosh.
having to really do anything remotely physical. Like, Josh, I don't know how the dude was getting injured by sitting in the dugout. Maybe, he was pulling some things when he was sitting, but yeah, the fact that he missed 50 games while not even having to play in the field, yeah, it sucks because JD Martinez was so good that that contract was such a bargain. But like you said, Josh, one, if the Dodgers signs Shohei, you got no room for him because you can't put him in the outfield. And even if they don't sign Shohei, JD Martinez is not going to be signing for 10 million. He is going to be signing for a lot more than that. So I don't know if the Dodgers want to give 15 to 20 million to an everyday DH. So JD, thank you for your work. We appreciate everything you did, but go get the bag somewhere else and try not to hurt yourself by sitting on the bench for an extended period of time. All right, Josh, the next one, Shelby Miller.
Shelby Miller's one that I think he comes back. Again, 33-year-old pitcher and another guy who was on a value deal. So I think that he was good when he was called upon. He had 171 ERA, 9
Man.
strikeouts per 9 innings. He was great. Just didn't pitch all that much. I think that he's a player that the Dodgers would love to have come back because he'd be a great option.
I mean, I knew Shelby Miller was good when he played, but like you said, Josh, a 1.71 ERA, a 0.90 whip. His ERA plus was 255. Even his FIP at 3.68, that's still something you'll take. Like, he was fantastic for the Dodgers. The issue was he missed like 2 months right in the middle of the season. He was a bargain deal. I don't know what his contract was, but I think it was very, very cheap. Maybe the Dodgers bring him back to an affordable deal. I think he'd be cheaper than like Ryan Brazier. So yeah, if he's able to come back for a couple million, by all means do it, Dodgers, because he was fantastic when he pitched. A really underrated piece of that bullpen. Josh, here's a fun one for you because this is a guy I need to look up. I'm sure Dodgers fans didn't even know he was on the 40-man roster. The Dodgers have signed this guy to, I think, 5 or 6 different contracts over the years, and he's only suited up once for them, and that's Jimmy Nelson, who hasn't pitched since 2021. He did pitch for OKC for a good portion of the season, but I guess the Dodgers just never wanted to activate him. When we did see him last, Josh, in 2021, 1.86 ERA, was averaging 14 strikeouts per 9 innings, a whip of 0.93, a FIP of below 2. He was fantastic. The only issue is, if he pitches in 2024, that's a 3-year break from when we saw him last. But hey, again, he's been a Dodger, I think, since like 2020 or 2019. So he's a veteran when it comes to this clubhouse.
Well, he's like paused and restarted his rehab stint, I think, more than once. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. He's kind of a tough one because, he's another guy that's 33. He was good when he was around. He's also not making that much money either. But again, I feel like there's another guy on here that I think that you kind of have to play the waiting game with in terms of injuries and free agency. And I think that in terms of the way that I look at these guys, I would rather have one over the other. And I feel like you can't just continue to play the waiting game for some of these pitchers who haven't pitched in over a year. And for me, I like Jimmy Nelson when he was pitching. But right now, this offseason, I could see him end up being a value get for somebody else and having a good season. Or if he wants to stay with the Dodgers, I think that they pay him a lot less than even the 1.5 that he was making now.
Yeah, this seems like a sign to a minor league contract because he's been with the organization for so long. See if he's able to ramp back up. He did appear in 29 games for OKC this past year, so quite a bunch, but he was pretty bad. He had an ERA of exactly 5. So it's not like he was, shoving down in AAA, but again, maybe they bring him back for like his 6th 1-year deal. But yeah, if he's not back, that's okay. David Peralta. Now, this is a really interesting one, Josh, because I'm personally torn on this one. I can go either way with David Peralta.
Yeah. This is a tough one because the dude just gets hits, right? The choo-choo man, 1 year, 6.5, like another good deal for the Dodgers, but he's 36. Or he will be 30. Yeah, he's 36. He's going to be 36 by the time the season starts. He's had a pretty good career. This is another one that I think I'd like to see the Dodgers bring back, but is he going to ask for more money while being 36? And for me, that's what the big question is. And it's a good lefty bat to have too. For me, he's making 6.5. Like if he's almost 37 by the time the season starts and is asking for more than that, I think it's not worth it for the Dodgers.
Yeah, even if the Dodgers could get him back at this exact deal they got him last offseason, I love the Choo Choo Man, but I'm actually going to have to pass just
Yeah.
because you could get just such better production from so many other guys. He did have that stretch for about 2 months where he was like actually quietly one of the top hitters in the National League when it comes to batting average. But over the final 50 games he played, Josh, he barely hit above 200, OPS of 564. He was a Gold Glove finalist. He was recently named a finalist a couple days ago, so defensively he was, great out there. But when it came to the bat, he just wasn't bringing it. He did deliver one of the rare extra base hits in the NLDS for the Dodgers. But yeah, if I'm the Dodgers, I either give more playing time to a rookie or see if you can go somewhere else because yeah, although he's cheap, I don't want a guy that's hitting 7 homers that's posting an OPS of 675. I think you could do better. So again, David Peralta, thank you for your service, but I think the Dodgers, they should move on there. A couple players left, Josh. One more position player we got here is Ahmed Rosario.
Another one that I think would be fun. He's only going to be 28 by the time the season starts. He was making less than David Peralta this past year. Or no, he was making a little bit more than David Peralta this last year. I'd like to see him brought back. I mean, I feel like down the stretch he actually didn't get as many at bats as we were hoping for. But he's a good player. He was a consistent hitter. Again, I thought that this trade to bring him over was essentially a fleecing. I mean, the trades
Yeah.
that the Dodgers did to get Kike Hernandez and Ahmed Rosario, they gave up like nothing. So I like him. I think he'd be a great bench piece. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be, an everyday starter in the middle of your infield. Of course, Dodgers expecting to have some of their middle infielders back. Obviously, Gavin Lux was out all year. He would be a great asset to have back next year. But then to have either Ahmed Rosario or Kike Hernandez as kind of your 1 and 2 guys off the bench who can play in the middle of the infield, I think that would be a great option. So I would love to see them bring Ahmed Rosario back, even if it's on the exact same kind of deal that he was on now at 7.8. If it was any cheaper than that, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ahmed Rosario coming back would be great. He'd be a great bench bat. You don't have to rely on him to be a starter. He hits lefties well, which you need, off the bench especially. Josh, I'm looking at his numbers between the Guardians and the Dodgers this past season, and it's insane how nearly identical he was. With the Guardians, OPS plus of 88. With the Dodgers, OPS plus of 89. With the Guardians, he had 265. With the Dodgers, he had 256. With the Guardians, 3 home runs. With the Dodgers, 3 home runs. With the Guardians, 9 stolen bases. With the Dodgers, 6 stolen bases. With the Guardians, on base percentage of 306. With the Dodgers, on base percentage of 301. So he was, again, you might have been hoping for a little bit more, but he was just a very, very slightly below average player who came in, played second base for the Dodgers, has a lot of speed. I would love for them to bring him back again as a bench piece. I don't know what the price will be, but like you said, Josh, if you're bringing back Ahmed Rosario, Kike Hernandez as kind of your bench bats that you can throw into the infield to shuffle some guys, I think that'd be huge for the Dodgers. That would be a massive win for an offseason. But unfortunately for Ahmed Rosario, he was left off the NLDS roster when they could have used him in favor of our final guy we're going to talk about, Josh, Colton Wong.
Yeah, I just don't see this one. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe they, and he wasn't even all that bad. I mean, he had a couple big hits, but
That's the craziest thing is the Colton Wong experience seemed awful, Josh, but his numbers with LA in September, like he was good. But it
Yeah.
didn't feel that way. He hit 300, OPS of 853, played in 20 games, but it just I don't know, I don't want him back. Like, sorry, Colton, but
I just don't see this one though.
Yeah.
And I think
yeah.
that sample size is not enough to warrant bringing him back. And then I don't want to say inevitably, because I think that would be not the right way to phrase it. But then you're risking the chance to send him back down, or he's not very good, and then you DFA him, and all of this because you offered him a contract after 20 games.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think it's worth it for the Dodgers.
Yeah, maybe this one again, like a minor league deal if he doesn't get signed by anyone else. But yeah, if Colton Wong's not back, I won't be losing sleep. But Josh, those are all the free agents that we talked about for the Dodgers. Again, a lot of guys on there that I really want the Dodgers to bring back. But because of this 40-man roster crunch, there's going to have to be some tough decisions made. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show with 6 other players that either could be free agents or the Dodgers could bring them back. We're going to be given our takes on whether or not the Dodgers should bring them for 2024. Stay tuned for that. All right, Josh, like I just mentioned, there are 6 players that have player options, or I guess I should say team options for this offseason. So the Dodgers got to make decisions on these 6 players. So we're just going to quickly go through them and say whether or not the Dodgers should bring them back at that price, or if they should let them walk into free agency. The first one is Daniel Hudson, who has a club option for $6.5 million.
Yeah, and this is what's already less than what he was, making already. So, he's another guy that's going to be 37 by the time the season starts. I think that the Dodgers would like to try to have a guy like him back, but he missed a lot of time. He didn't get, I think, as many. I mean, he was good though too. He was pretty good throughout the season. Yeah, I mean, he just didn't really play very much this past year, obviously. And
I think he appeared in like 3. I want to say 3 or 4 games. Yeah, 3 games.
3 games. He looked good when he did. And then over the course of the last few years, he also looked good. And obviously last year for the Dodgers, he was terrific too. And a 2.22 ERA in 25 games. But I think it'd be great to have him back, but it depends on that's not a whole lot of money, I feel like, for another year. But again, you're getting a guy that missed almost all of this season. If you're confident in the fact that he's going to be able to pitch next year consistently, it's not a bad deal, I feel like, given his track record and his career numbers and all that. But again, this is one of the few club options too, where I'm kind of a little, I don't know. I'm kind of a little turned off on it.
It's tough because we saw him for like I think 3 games this past year. He missed half of 2022, but like you said, Josh, you read off the numbers. He's been great when he's pitched for the Dodgers. It's just he tore his ACL, then he came back for 3 games, completely messed up his other knee. I think you said he's going to be 37 this upcoming year, so he's up there in age already. He's coming off 2 knee injuries, and I think different knees. Maybe the Dodgers turn down his player option, but say, hey, like we want to bring you back, but for $3 million. So maybe they could save a couple million there. It's tough because $6.5 million is not that much, but if he's not going to pitch for you that much, you're throwing a lot of money down the drain when you could use it somewhere else. So for the Dodgers, I hope they decline it, but I hope they're able to bring him back on a cheaper deal, even if it's for $3 million or $4 million. You need to save as much as you can this offseason. So if the Dodgers could do that, I mean, he'd be a great option as your 7th or 8th inning piece. Another reliever, Josh, Joe Kelly, who has a $9.5 million club option with a $1 million buyout.
Yeah, see, I say bring him back. I mean,
yeah,
the fans like him. He's a good bullpen piece, but he's another guy who missed time. He had some big moments for the Dodgers once he came over, but again, I feel like I'm in this stage where I keep saying, if you're not confident that they're going to be able to pitch for a while, and guys who've missed some time, I feel like I've been hesitant to say bring them back, but there is somebody else on this list that I'm gonna say bring back, and it's gonna be the opposite of what I've been saying this whole time. So I feel like right here, if the math makes sense, bring back Joe Kelly. I think that he's a good reliever to have in one of these situations. He'll be almost 36 by the time the season starts. So the Dodgers are going to be a relatively older team, at least in terms of the free agents that we're talking about. But I'm curious to see what you think. I mean, he's one of the few guys where the club option is going to be an increase in salary.
Dude, I don't know, man. So, like, first off, he was fantastic with the Dodgers when he came back. 1.74 ERA, 1.32 FIP. Josh, the dude was averaging 16 and a half strikeouts per 9 innings when he was back with LA. But like you said, he got hurt. I think he missed a month. $9.5 million is a lot of money for a reliever. But Joe Kelly's a fan favorite. He clearly loves being here. I think the only reason he signed with the White Sox a couple years ago was because they offered him, I think it was a 2-year contract, and he wanted that multi-year deal. So for this, the Dodgers, they don't have to give him the multi-year deal. I think they wanted to bring him back on a 1-year deal the first time around. So if this is what you were probably offering him last offseason, maybe he ends up coming back. Or I guess 2 off seasons ago. I guess he was with the White Sox for 2 years. It felt like he was not gone that long, but I want him back, Josh. But again, $9.5 million for a reliever is just so much money.
Yeah,
but he was really good. This is another one, like I kind of mentioned with Daniel Hudson. Maybe they can say, "Hey, Joe, like we're gonna turn this down. We'll give you your $1 million for your buyout. Do you want to come back for $6 million, where you're still getting a good payday? We're saving a couple mil, but." I want him back. I want the Dodgers to save money, but I also don't want to lose him again, Josh, because I love having Joe Kelly in the bullpen. Like I love having him on the mound. I love his cockiness. I love just that he's one of the few guys that brings grit to this Dodgers team. And at the end of the day, it's not my money, so I don't care. But I really want them to bring him back. So I'm saying pick up that $9.5 million club option. It's a lot of money, but screw it, Josh. Do it. Bring him back.
I agree.
Bring Joe Kelly back. All right, Josh, the next one. This one is a very easy one for me, but again, that's why there's 2 of us. Lance Lynn, a nice $18 million club option with a $1 million buyout. So, Josh, are you bringing back Lance Lynn for $18 million in 2024?
No. Thank you. You know, the home runs were an issue, but we knew that. Other than that, I thought he was pretty good, but no. 18 million. Sorry, pal.
Yeah, Lance Lynn, thank you for your service. Thank you for eating innings, but yeah, you can go and try and fetch a contract from someone else. Josh, the next one, this is going to be an interesting one. A lot of conversations I've been seeing on Twitter about this one. Max Muncy. Now, according to Spotrac, I think it's 14 million for his club option, but what I've been seeing, the other beat reporters, they're saying it's 10 million. So 10 million, 14 million. I don't know what the official number is. If the beat reporters are saying 10 million, I'm going to go with them. So a $10 million club option for Max Muncy.
So I saw the 14 on Spotrac too. If it's 10, I say yes, absolutely. If it's 14, I think I still say yes. Based off of, what the contract was already, I think that's only a slight increase if it is 14. But look, I think that he's a good player to bring back because again, we had that he's had a couple of explosive seasons. He's going to be still 33 by the time the season starts. And obviously you look at the home runs that he's had, and what those numbers have been. I think people want to see a more consistent Max Muncy because kind of what we've seen is the strikeout or home run Max Muncy.
Yeah.
But I think he's a big part of the team. I'd like to see him bring him back.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's 10 million, whether it's 14 million, I think this one's actually a no-brainer. I mean, despite him not being great defensively, this is a guy that this past year still hit 36 home runs, drove in 105 runs, had an OPS above 800. You'll take that at this price point because unless you're trading for Nolan Arenado, I don't know what your best option would be at third base. Josh, I know we like to talk about Michael Busch, but no offense to Michael Busch, I would rather take my chances at third base with Max Muncy for the long term than Michael Busch next year. Bring up Michael Busch as a bench bat, but your options at third base are literally, Muncy, Michael Busch, or trading for Nolan Arenado. So if I'm the Dodgers, it's a no-brainer. Bring him back. It's a really affordable deal. You're getting a guy that, again, hit 36 homers, drove in 100 RBIs for $10 million. I mean, that's an insane bargain. That's an insane deal. You got to bring him back. In Muncie, we trust, I believe. Again, Josh, if he just hits 220, if he hits 230, he's posting an OPS close to 900. So the fact that he's posting these insane numbers while hitting 200 is just wild. Another player, Josh, that I'm sure a lot of people didn't even realize was on the team at any point because he didn't pitch a single pitch. Alex Reyes, who the Dodgers signed this past offseason, missed the entire year with an injury. He has a $3 million club option. That's all that needs to be said.
I mean, $3 million for a 29-year-old guy that we didn't really get to see this year is tough to give full analysis on, but I mean, maybe the Dodgers want to see him pitch because we never got to.
I mean, so we haven't seen him pitch since 2021. He did miss all of 2022 as well. Josh, the last time we actually saw him on the mound throwing a pitch was at Dodger Stadium when he allowed the walk-off home run to Chris Taylor in the wild card game.
Yeah.
That's the last time we saw this guy. But Josh, in 2029, he was an all-star for the Cardinals. He was one of the best closers in baseball.
2029?
Oh boy, what am I saying? I think because you said he's 29 years old, so I got confused. So we're getting too ahead of ourselves. But in 2021, oh no, he had 29 saves. Okay, there we go. Now we're making sense. 29 saves in 2021. He's going to be 29. A lot of 20s going on here, Josh. But again, the last time we saw him, he was an all-star closer for only $3 million. I say screw it, bring him back. If he regains form, you're getting an insanely valuable piece in the bullpen. If he sucks, well, you're only paying $3 million for him. So again, I think it depends on if he's healthy or not. But I got no issue with it for $3 million. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. We're in, Alex Reyes. We're officially in. All right, Josh, our final one that we got to get to. We've been talking about a lot of these guys, but guys we never saw suit up for the Dodgers in 2023. Yes, he was with the team. Yes, he still has a chance to come back, and that's Blake Treinen. Now, this one's a fun one, Josh, because there's no actual number for it. Because according to what I've seen, Blake Treinen's 2024 option is based on time missed in 2022 and 2023. Well, if that's the case, he essentially missed, I think, 98% of games in those two seasons. So his player option would probably be very, very affordable. So again, there's no number for it, but I'm assuming it's a very low number. So if you want to throw out $2 million, $3 million, you can make up your own number, Josh. But make up your own number, and whatever that number is, do you want Blake Treinen back on that number?
I'll go off of what Spot Track says, which is $7 million. I don't really know where that number comes from.
Maybe that's like the most he can get, because I saw that too, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's again. Dude, contracts are weird, man. The way they negotiate these.
Yeah. This is kind of the player that I was alluding to earlier, though, as somebody who's missed a lot of time, but I still think maybe you give him another shot. And for me,
Right.
Blake Treinen has been so good, throughout his career with the Dodgers. Obviously in 2020, he was really good. 2021, 72 games, a 1.99 ERA. I mean, he was
So
terrific for the Dodgers. And then just in the 5 games that he played in the 2022 season, 1.80 ERA. He was fine, but it was only 5 games.
Right.
He's just a good option out of the bullpen. He can be your kind of he can kind of be the setup man, I feel like, or the bridge to the closer. I know they had experimented with him as the closer before, but if he comes in kind of that 8th inning, put out the fire kind of role, I think that he could be a really good option for the team. Now, again, I feel like for a reliever, maybe if that is that 7 million or 8 million or whatever I said, if that's the number, maybe that's a little high. But again, I think that this is a player maybe you give one last look to.
Yeah, so it says 7 million. So I don't know if that is the official number, because again, under it says 2024 option is based on time missed. I don't know if it takes into account the time missed and that's the number it's spewed out. So maybe it is 7 million. But yeah, if it is that high, I still think he's a guy that you want to bring back. He obviously almost made it back this past season. I think he ended up pitching a few games in OKC, just couldn't get there in time. And like you said, Josh, last time we saw him, the dude was lights out. He was one of the better relievers in all of baseball. So if you can get him back, it's kind of that seventh, eighth inning fireman type of role. I think that'd be huge for the Dodgers. I mean, there's a number of guys we talked about in today's list, Josh, where if the Dodgers bring all these guys back and they're all healthy, and you have a healthy bullpen next year of Evan Phillips, Brusdar Graterol, Joe Kelly, Daniel Hudson, Blake Trinan. This is the best bullpen in all of baseball. The issue is, are these guys going to be healthy? So for Trinan, if he's good to go, I say bring him back, regardless of what the price is, whether it's again 7 million, 2 million. I'd like to see him come back. But again, that's a choice that the Dodgers have to make, whether or not he's healthy. But those are officially all of the player options. Again, only 6. We went through all the free agents. The Dodgers also have to add guys via the Rule 5 draft, guys they want to protect. I think there's only 2 locks, Josh. I think Nick Frasso and Landon Knack are the 2 that are probably going to be added. So there's 2 more guys that are taking up roster spots. Before we do wrap this up, Josh, we didn't talk about these guys, the guys that are arbitration eligible, just because there are so many. But I want to quickly name off a few, and you just tell me whether or not you think the Dodgers should bring them back, sign him in arbitration, or they should release him, kind of like what they did last year with Cody Bellinger, Edwin Rios. So a few names that are arbitration eligible: Ryan Yarbrough.
I like him, and I thought that he was really good. Would love to see them bring him back. So, and I feel like you'll be able to get it for a good value.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to be cheap, and I think you need that Ross Stripling kind of guy that can eat innings out of the bullpen like that. So I hope they bring him back. Yency Almonte.
Yency's another one that's kind of an interesting one, I think, but ultimately I think that he's going to be relatively cheap. He might ask for more, but again, it wasn't a great season, but a year ago he was terrific. So I say bring him back too.
Yeah, he's projected to earn 1.9 million. So at that price, bring him back. Hopefully he can bounce back. Victor Gonzalez.
I feel like I'm kind of in the same kind of boat here, where it's not going to be all that much. It's 1 million. So yeah, bring him back. If there's a spot available, bring him back.
Yeah, for this one, he's so cheap, but since roster spots are going to be hard to come by, this one, honestly, I have no problem if they want to cut their ties and send him off somewhere else, because he didn't really play much for the Dodgers this year anyway. I don't think he's going to play a role in the bullpen next year, so you might as well clear up a roster spot and get rid of him. One other one that's on here, Josh, our final one, a guy that, once again, did not play for the Dodgers, J.P. Fireeisen, a guy that they signed from the Rays this past year, but I think he underwent Tommy John surgery. He was fantastic for the Rays when he pitched last. The only issue is, I don't even know if we're going to see him at any point in 2024, but he's projected to make $1 million. So, Josh, J.P. Fireeisen, are you in or are you out?
So I think that they'd like to keep him just because 1 million is such a low number, and I think that that's such a good value for a player that could be really good. The thing that's going to cost him again is the roster spot. Given the other players that the Dodgers are going to want to bring in, or offer new contracts to, and then like you said, the Rule 5, where there's going to be not a ton, but probably 2, maybe 3. Again, like that's something that I think could cost him a spot. So I think that he's probably not going to be back, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers like what they've seen from him so far, and still want to give him a shot.
If they signed him knowing he was going to miss all of 2023, like I would assume they want to bring him back. But again, because roster spots are going to be so hard to come by, like I don't know. Josh, one final thing. When he pitched in 2022 for the Rays, he threw 24 1/3 innings. Would you like to take a guess as to how many runs he allowed in those 24 innings?
1.
0.
Wow.
So the dude shoved, and the Dodgers essentially got him for free. So maybe they bring him back. Hey, if they want to bring back J.P. Fireeisen, a guy that had a 0 ERA in 24 innings, and he's literally your worst reliever, hey. I mean, Josh, this Dodgers bullpen could be so good. You throw in Fireeisen, you throw in Alex Reyes, who was a freaking all-star closer in 2021. This could be an insane bullpen, but that does wrap it up, Josh, unfortunately. As we talked about so many players, unfortunately, that has to be the end, but the Dodgers, again, this offseason is going to be tough for them because there are so many players that they can bring back. They got to get that roster under 40, especially if they want to sign guys like Shohei Ohtani, some other free agents. If they want to make trades, you got to get that 40-man below 40. So some tough decisions are going to be made, and there could be trades that feature guys on the 40-man that might get traded to other teams. Hopefully Michael Busch survives the bloodbath, Josh. Hopefully he makes it out alive so he can spend all of 2024. Actually, do you think Michael Busch is probably praying for a trade at this point? He's probably saying, please send me literally anywhere so I can get Major League surface time.
I don't know.
I think he would have to be.
Yeah, probably.
He's like, please get me out of here. Send me to the Royals so I can play every day.
I don't know.
I mean, what would you do if you were at that point? Would you want to get traded? Like, if you were like 21 or 22, maybe not. But if you're like, I think it's going to be 26, like, your time's got to be now, man.
Yeah.
I'd want to get out.
See, I feel like he just even needs a chance to be like a bench piece for the Dodgers. Like if he's like a full-time bench piece, I would take that.
It's going to be interesting because the Dodgers have so many rookies that are on their 40-man where there's just like, I don't know what the path is. Like, I don't know what the path is. So again, the Dodgers are going to be busy this offseason, but there's going to be a lot of movement that happens. So make sure you stay tuned by listening to Inside the Ravine, wherever you guys get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple, and the Odyssey app. And you guys can, of course, follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Inside the Ravine. You guys can find us there. Josh, any final words before we depart for the week?
I saw Bruce Dar at the Kings game last night. I said, hey.
Yeah, as I texted you,
but
I texted you saying you should personally thank him for being the only player on the team that showed any sort of emotion.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he gets that a lot.
I think he was with his mom. I'm not sure, though. But I think. Because I saw two people walking. I was like, one of those throws heat. The other one throws a blistering slider of a first pitch. And I'm pretty sure that was her.
Yeah. She did have a good first pitch. I do remember that. So, Bruce Gratterall, LA Kings fan, you should have tried to sell him on an Ontario Reign package, Josh. Like, what are you doing? Aren't you in sales? Isn't that your job? Isn't that your job to try to sell him on a package?
Absolutely not. No, I would not approach Bruce and be like, hey, our holiday plans are about to go on sale.
We'll get you the best rate at the Toyota Arena so you can just come in. Hey, man, we'll even have a Dodgers night. Do you want to drop the puck on Dodgers night? I'll guarantee you that for it. Yeah, Quakes, boy. So yeah, hey, that's a great way to finish this. But again, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, we do appreciate it. Stay tuned this offseason for a lot more episodes. There's a lot of Dodgers news that we're gonna have to get to, so stay tuned for that. Some fun things coming. But for Josh Schaefer, this has been Blake Harris. Thank you guys as always for listening, and enjoy the rest of your week wherever you may be.